What's up with this internet shit? Scrapple TV.
Hi, I'm Heather Barton, and this is Kenzo News. Oh, yeah, you got it. And that's him. You know who he is.
And the host gonna sit right here? What the fuck? All right, well, I'm Richie Antipuna.
Nobody really cares.
And this is the Richie Antipuna Show.
No, it ain't. It's Kenzo News. Okay, well, there's an update in the CVS robbery from a couple weeks ago.
Oh, yeah, the 8500 block of Frankfurt Avenue. I remember that one.
Yeah, they caught two of the guys, but I don't want to say their names. You know, we might know them. But they won't say why they arrested them. Like, they won't say what they have against them. But yet they charged the one guy with multiple counts of attempted murder, aggravated assault, assault of a police officer, robbery, and conspiracy and other weapons and violations. So obviously he has something to do with it. The other guy hasn't been charged yet, so I don't know, maybe he's just like an informant, knows what happened. But they really botched that job up, because, and it's allegedly, we don't know for sure that they did it.
It's always alleged.
Allegedly.
But on another note, in the neighborhood, I've gotten plenty of emails, I think you have too, about the closing the churches and especially Ascension on F in Westmoreland. And St. Clooney and other schools, they're closing their doors in June. The funding, Anne's. Oh yeah, St. Anne's also. The funding has run out, and so they get no money.
That means the fund is over for the priests?
Yeah, fun day's over for the priests.
Yeah, fund's up.
No pun on Catholic school kids, though.
No, that's a shame. Well, now all the Catholic school kids are going to have to go with the real religious kids in the public school system.
No, they'll go to the charter schools. That's what Catholic schools are becoming, charter schools now.
Yeah. Well, with no churches, you know, it's have like unruly people.
I know one thing though. Once the church leaves a community, that's when the community dissipates. Like it just. Yeah.
Because that's all they have, really.
Nobody knew what come to the community, right?
It's a shame.
So what else is going on?
Well, there was a report in a local paper back in February on the 22nd. It said that there was a well-dressed white man about 6'2" with black curly hair walked in Luke's Bar on Cedar Street.
Luke's Bar?
Yeah. And it's down near Haggard Street.
I know where it's at.
And it was like 11:30 p.m. at night, and he walks in and he tells the bartender to give him the money out of the register. And he ran out with $100, and the 55-year-old lady actually chased him out, and she slipped and fell on a piece of ice. And that's what they reported in
Do we have a clip of that? That probably would be funny.
No, but that's what they reported in the story, right? And then on the blog, a whole bunch of people were writing a whole bunch of different things. Like, I didn't have time to read it all. But some woman actually wrote, she said, because people had made some comments about, like, where the neighborhood bar was and, you know, just making fun of it. And the one woman said, there are so many junkies in our neighborhoods now for y'all, I don't even know who says that, it should be yous, to even access the barmaid as being drunk, because they were accusing her of being drunk. Luke's Bar is a good bar, and people have a problem with it because they don't like the addicts there. It's a peaceful hole-in-the-wall bar, but with much history at the bar. What the article didn't mention, since the editor took it upon himself to write the story without meeting them, here, she chased them and caught him and got the money back. So she's only like 5 foot tall, they said, and she ran out the door and got him and got the money back. Wow. So congratulations to her. And, you know, I just think that should have been the good part of the story, actually. That would have been better, you know.
Well, I won't be robbing that bar during her shift.
Yeah, he got some tough cookies out there. Or watch her ass.
Huh.
And that was Rocco and Cherry.
That's who said it? Okay.
So, rock on, Cherry.
Well, being St. Patty's Day celebration is coming up, you should leave your guns at home or check them at the door, because recently 3 men were killed by gunfire on Saturday, February 19th. 32-year-old Sean Flanagan was shot and killed by a doorman at the Carmen nightclub on Bustleton Ave up there at the 9800 block. He left the club and allegedly threatened the doorman, but then came back with a gun and shot at the doorman once and missed. And the doorman had his own gun and shot back and caught Flanagan in the chest. Same night, a 20-year-old Christopher Spence was shot at the T&T bar in Frankfurt. Mikkel Grant, 31, who was shot several times in the chest inside Scotty's bar in South Philadelphia. And another guy, 42-year-old, was shot during an incident, but he's in stable condition.
Yeah, that's crazy. Like, I don't know why guys get guns these days.
Guns and alcohol don't mix.
Beer muscles.
You know how many people I might have shot if I brought my gun with me? I don't own a gun, though, because that's illegal for a felon to own
Take
a gun.
a water gun.
Okay.
Shoot them in the face with a water gun. I would piss someone off, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Especially if you piss in the water gun.
Yeah.
I used to do that when I was younger. I used to piss in the water gun, and all down here downtown, I would stop and say, "Excuse me, can you tell me where Penn's Landing is?" And when somebody gives you directions in the car, they always lean in your window. Mm-hmm. And then I just used to pick the gun up and shoot him in the face with piss and pull away. And the guy had threw beer bottles at us one day on South Street.
You're so mean. You're going to hell. Prepare. Get an air conditioner and stick it up your ass because you're burning. Okay, well, there's a correction in the Northeast Times again, as they do pretty often. In the February 10th edition, they incorrectly reported that Daniel McGowan, 25, he was of the 8800 block of Alton Street. He was charged with drug distribution, and it was with a connection with a heroin bust that they did back in January on Ron Street.
Okay.
But here, he was really only in possession. And he was accused of selling large quantities of heroin, but he only had a bag. And
this is just a correction of the newspaper.
Yeah.
Well, he will be charged with possession with intent to deliver and possession with intent to distribute.
He had one bag.
Oh, it was only one bag? No.
Yeah, like one bag.
Right, okay.
So he ended up getting 12 hours of community service.
At any rate, bing, bing, bing in this corner. Get ready for the rematch that will include, but are not limited to, mudslinging, teasing, taunting, name-calling, humiliation, criticizing, and flat-out lies.
Sounds like my divorce.
It's the 2011 down and dirty brawl between Maria Quinona Sanchez and Dan Savage for councilman. I also put a thing on Facebook that I was going to run for councilman, too. I got a pretty good response.
I thought mayor. I thought you were running for mayor.
No, I'm not up to that stage yet.
Oh.
Well, Savage had won a special election in November of 2006 to replace Rick Mariano, who I wish would have jumped when he tried to jump off the City Hall building there. Because he busted my balls so much about my after-hours club. It was just, I didn't like the guy.
He helped me fold laundry.
Did he?
Yeah.
That's nice. But Sanchez beat him out in 07 with 52% of the votes. And Savage, who's 41, and with 32,000 new voters that she registered, I can see how. And also, her family owns over 100 businesses in the area, so they have...
Maybe they gave out free coffee.
Well, whatever, but they have, they want her to be the councilwoman because that's the only area she hooks up anyway, is that area down where her family has their businesses.
So we know.
Yeah, so, Savage said last summer people who were urging him to run again. He made the official announcement last month at Kensington and Somerset, and he opened a campaign office at 2218 Glendale Ave in Rawhurst.
Cool.
There's too much crime and too few jobs, he said. It's going to take an elected official working with community leaders.
Sure.
Quinona Sanchez says she is willing to work with any group that has the best interests of the neighborhoods as its mission. However, Savage faults her for what he sees as a lack of working relationship with some groups. This is very true because I was at several community meetings where she refuses to attend. And, that article was out where she said she would not sit in a room with a bunch of white guys in suits.
Right.
That's her own comment. So.
Right, and it wasn't even a bunch of white guys. There was like 3 white guys.
There was African Americans. There was
a couple African American guys,
right.
And I think a white lady and a black lady.
So she's been known to only fight for the Latinos, and she makes no secret of it, as we just said. She's more focused on the number of parades than the number of police patrolling our streets, he said. Her defense is that she has supported beat officers, community policing, and police service areas. As far as parades, she is proud to have led the council effort to protect volunteer organizers from absorbing the hefty costs for police presence. Parades go to the core of Philadelphia neighborhoods. That's what she said.
Yeah. Well, I don't know. Are people more concerned with parades? Because then we can have parades all the time. So
well, you brought it up to her at the meeting at the that center there. What was that center called?
Bevel Aqua Center.
Yeah, the Bevel Aqua Center.
The day she
about the halfway houses, and she said, "Oh, that was thrown upon me."
Right.
How could
She
it be
inherited
thrown?
it.
Yeah, I inherited it. Well, if you ran for that office and you knew that problem was there, you didn't inherit it.
Well, I felt as though she was trying to boast the issue that she had so many
She was.
halfway houses. And then when I said, do you think it's wise to have so many
Right.
halfway houses right in the same general area where people have just
Where
came
they
out
use.
of,
Where they use.
right, they just came out of that situation of buying drugs and using drugs, and now they're trying to get clean, and they're subjected to that temptation every single day they walk out the door.
Well, somebody
And
said.
she said back to me, well, they have to be faced with that temptation because they have to go back into the real world at some point. And I said, yeah, but first thing in recovery is people, places, and things, and you should remove yourself from that situation while you're trying to get sober. So then she kind of changed it and said they weren't going to adopt any more halfway houses. And the 325 that they have now.
Over the 325 they have now, right?
Right.
Unlicensed.
So get out and register, get out and vote. You know, it's an important election. These are your elected officials that you can go to and ask for help if you need it. And, you know, with Savage, hopefully he's not just focused on one.
Well, I hope
ethnic
Maria Sanchez remembers the day she pushed you and almost
Well,
knocked
that's
you
what I
the fuck
said.
on out.
She pushed the Aaron out of the way.
Yeah, she did.
Get out of here. I don't need that
So
microphone.
she showed you where the fuck she stood.
Yeah. Well, I was asked to cover that meeting, so I didn't volunteer
Look,
that.
she mugged your
And
ass.
because if I wouldn't have held the microphone up to her voice, they wouldn't.
She
wouldn't have been heard on the news because our stuff was hooked into that thing, whatever it is.
On my block, she'd have got punched in the mouth, though. She'd have did that.
Don't get me
somebody on my
started. You
block.
just want me arrested. Anyway. There's a squatter alert. Squatters, they put it on every block that, you know, I guess you can
I ain't got nothing against squatters. So
I'm going to be one soon.
I ain't got nothing against them.
You could just announce whatever you want, I guess, on the one section of every block, like if something's happening or whatever. So somebody put that somebody moved in at the 2035 East Cumberland Street house. They took all the pipes and everything out. She said, I guess it's a girl.
I think that was Beppa Moreno's old house.
Really?
Yeah.
Well, they're like doing drugs in the house and everything. Everything's gone. So just to let everybody know, there was new neighbors, Cumberland Street. Well, that's the news for this week. See you next week, folks.
See you next week.
Live, love, laugh.
Live, love, live.